But at one point in 2003, 2004, I went as a student to several mosques, and I asked several Muslims, well, what's up with Afghanistan, Taliban, etc., etc. And there was one guy who told me, well, that's what Islam wants. And he was a Muslim. And he said to me, yeah, well, I don't like it either, but that's what God wants, so we have to do that, point. And then I thought, whoa, you're even more crazier than I thought. And that hardened my views when it came to Islam. And I told Abdul Hakim Murad as well, and he said, well, you know what the point is, that you have Dar al-Islam, he said, it's a house of Islam, and you are in a little barn somewhere in the garden with all the extremists, the anti-Islam guys and the extreme Muslims. And so what you have to do is get out of the barn, walk into the garden, look at the house, go into the house, and then we talk again. You can ask questions again. And that's what, and I asked him, well, I'm willing to get out of the barn if you give me some information, how, a map. So he gave me some information. I started reading, and in the end, I thought, okay, Islam, the teachings of Islam, I thought, okay, that it looks very much like Christianity, yeah? Be polite, of course, believing in God, believing in the prophets, etc. But in the end, the big difference, of course, is whether the question whether Muhammad is a prophet or not. So I thought, okay, maybe Islam, the teachings of Islam are okay, but Muhammad is still, as I learned, an antichrist, or he is a crook, or all the bad things you can imagine. That was still the view that I held when it came to Prophet Muhammad. What I did was comparing him not to Jesus, because a lot of people always say you have to compare him with Jesus, but I found that illogical, because Jesus had another mission. Even when I was still not a Muslim, I thought, well, it's more fair to compare him to Moses, because I thought, well, in the Christian church I was brought up, they called Moses the lawgiver, and I thought, well, Prophet Muhammad brought a law as well, the Sharia. So I thought, well, we have two guys who say they bring a law, so it's more fair that I compare those two with each other. And I thought, well, one of my objections was Muhammad used violence. And then, yeah, I read, of course, Moses used violence as well, and especially the guy who followed Moses when Moses died, Joshua is a prophet as well in the Old Testament. He used a lot of violence. And when I compared the teachings when it came to war between the Bible and the Quran, I found out that what the Quran, for example, says, you cannot kill women, children, now all the things you probably know. But in the Bible, there are passages that say the opposite. They say you have to kill women, kill them all. And of course, let's be happy that's not what the most Christian churches teach. But there are passages in the Old Testament that say that you have to wipe out everything, even the grass. So everything has to be erased. So I thought, okay, when it comes to violence, I can no longer say that Muhammad, because he fought a war, and it was a defensive war, that he is no prophet if I accept Moses and Joshua, for example. So, okay. And then I went to another point and another one, and all the points that my objections against Muhammad, when I compared it to other prophets, I had no grounds anymore. So in the end, I thought, well, maybe they are all no prophets, or Muhammad is a prophet as well. And that was a point for me that I had to look into my heart to see, I still believe in God. Well, if you believe in God, why do you believe God? There is a revelation. If I believe in a revelation, that the revelation is brought by someone or someone's, that's not an English word, but by people. And those people we call prophets. So I thought, okay, then Muhammad is a prophet. And then I realized, well, if I say Muhammad is a prophet and I believe in God, then there is a problem, because then I would be a Muslim, and that's not still something I didn't want to be. And so I talked to a lot of people, and they say, yeah, well, if that's the case, you are a Muslim, whether you like it or not, or you must stop believing in God or something. But I couldn't. And then I thought, okay, I just park it and I don't do anything with it, and I'll leave it for what it is. But yeah, if you are a believing person, whether you're not a Christian or a Buddhist or a Muslim, you want to do something with the things you believe in, especially when it's the core or the cornerstone of your life. And it was still so. I believed in God, and I thought, yeah, I want to abide the laws of God. I want to do something that is good. So I had to do something with my newfound information, and I started looking for a publisher to do something with the book. And the book was not already finished, but most of the parts that I found out and the new information I found out were in the book, but not yet my conversion, because I didn't convert it yet. And I was looking for a typical Dutch publisher. So it's called in Dutch. It's called het Kennishuis. It means house of wisdom. But they wrote it in an old style Dutch, and when you write it in Old Dutch, it's typical Dutch. Most nationalist guys write it in Old Dutch, so you see, oh, whoa, he's a real Dutch. So that's what it. And I thought, okay, and the publisher wrote Het Kennishuis, so the House of Wisdom, in Old Dutch, and they were specialized in Islamic literature. So I thought it was an anti-Islamic publisher. And I wrote them, well, I have a script, and I got it back. And I said, maybe we can meet. And yeah, all of a sudden there was a guy against me, and he was sitting in front of me, and he was a Muslim. I said, oh, why you look Muslim? Yeah, I am a Muslim. It's Islamic. It's an Islamic publisher. It's an Islamic publisher. You called it Kennishuis, and you wrote it in Old Dutch. Yeah, I know. We did it on purpose because we're in that way, we try to reach out for people who think that Islam is not compatible with the West or with Holland in this case. So we start talking. I told him where I was, that I believed that Muhammad probably was a prophet, and I still believe in God. He said, well, you are a Muslim, but you don't know it yet. So I start reading, and it took a couple of months, and after those months, we were eating at home by the publisher, and there was an imam with us and some other guys, also non-Muslims, and the imam suddenly asked me, "Do you believe in God? Yes or no?" I said, "Yes." "Do you believe Muhammad was a prophet? Yes or no?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Well, we take the Shahada now, or is it something you do not want to do?" And then I said, yeah, I think deep in my heart I want to do it, but I cannot do it because, of course, because of your family, and yeah, because I was a right-wing nationalist. I cannot become a Muslim. That's ridiculous. But I did, and it made me very happy, and I'm still very happy today. Unfortunately, a lot of people in my family, of course, are a little less happy when I did it. And some Muslims ask me, "Well, aren't you mad at your family, or why aren't you disappointed?" But I'm not, because especially my mother, she was very sad, and she said, "It's not because I'm sad because you became a Muslim." She said, I would also be sad when you became a Buddhist, because she thinks Christianity is the truth, so she was worried for my soul. So I couldn't be, in the first place, it's hard to be mad at your mother, but especially when somebody is mad or sad out of love. So that's something that I always try to remember. But there are a lot of, of course, the old supporters of the political party I was active in, who are not so happy. The usual death threats and stuff like that. But that's not something that holds you back, because it made me very happy. And the doubts I had, is that what I told about Christianity, the doubts I had when it comes to the Trinity of God and the crucifixion, the fact in Christianity people believe that God had to sacrifice Jesus Christ so he could forgive the world. But at the same time, in the Bible, it says that God is almighty and does what he wants to do. And I always thought as a child, well, if you are almighty as God, why can't you just forgive?